everybody. Welcome to the Haunted Hangover Podcast. I'm Louie, and as always, I'm here with my buddy Dave.
Hey.
And today we have a third co-host on the show, my sister, Sam.
Hello, everyone.
You know, Sam helps me with producing some of the Haunted Hangover videos, specifically the Cocktail Cauldron episodes, where she creates spooky cocktails and basically creates drinks for any holidays coming up. Sammy, how's it feel to be on the podcast finally?
I'm excited. We normally have pretty good banter, so this is a treat for me.
So, since you're kind of technically like the official third host of the podcast, you'll be jumping on from time to time. And I think a good way to introduce yourself is to explain kind of why you love Halloween as well. Because, Dave and I, we've gone into it in our very first episode. We explained why we love Halloween and why it's so important to us. So I'm going to let you start today by going into why you love Halloween so much.
Okay, so besides the obvious reason to love Halloween, which is all the pumpkin flavored goodies and the obscene amount of candy that you receive as a child, I obviously, you guys know me well. I love making costumes. I mean, that kind of just spills into what we're talking about today. But the reason I love Halloween the most is because of being born kind of into it. Our mother, me and Louie's mother, her birthday is the day before Halloween. So growing up, she threw some pretty badass parties alongside my grandmother. And we kind of just became obsessed with it in a sense because of them. So it's big thanks to them for blessing us with such a kick-ass childhood.
It's funny that you mentioned that party because that was like our first episode. I actually told Dave about that party.
Oh, yeah. That was this. Besides the fact that our grandmother just like threw a party every weekend, Halloween parties were like the thing that we'd anticipate the most. So definitely that. Also having a big brother who just really liked horror movies kind of fed the obsession, so to speak. But that'd be the main reason is our mom, for sure.
She still does. She still loves Halloween a lot, and she still dresses up and still tries to do things with us, whether it's haunted houses or parties or all those things. Last year, I had a Halloween party, and our mom came and hung out and drank and danced and all that stuff. Dave was there too, right, Dave?
She's keeping it alive. I was there.
Yeah. So today on the show, the main topic is going to be Halloween costumes. And we're each going to kind of share a specific costume in our life that we loved and why, and kind of give a backstory as to why we decided to choose that costume. And I don't know if a lot of people know why costumes are so important during Halloween, but I'll give a little brief history. Halloween itself is like a Celtic festival. Most people pronounce it Samhain, but I believe it's right, Dave. It's pronounced Samhain or Samhain.
Samhain.
Yeah, Samhain. So it's a Celtic festival, and people wore masks and costumes to kind of ward off ghosts and spirits. And they kind of thought if they left their house at night, that wearing these costumes, they would kind of blend in with like the ghost, or they wouldn't like recognize them. It has an interesting history, the whole costume thing. Here in America, and I believe Halloween blew up in like the 50s or 60s. Is really where here in America it kind of became a thing like that we know it today, like with candy and pumpkins and all that stuff. And I just always found it interesting that like dressing up as a monster was so important. Even though nowadays I don't think people dressed up as scary characters. It's kind of like sexy nurses, or it's kind of like sexy versions of monsters.
Yeah, sexy roll of toilet paper.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's really dumb.
It's kind of evolved over time where it's more kind of like a comedy thing. People dress up as like toothbrushes, hot dogs, like Sammy said, toilet paper, which I'm sure we'll see a lot of this year because of what's going on.
Oh man,
but
you're right. I didn't even think of that.
Exactly. But between the three of us, I know we each have dressed up or enjoy dressing up as, horror or scary type of characters.
Great Halloween parties begin at Walgreens. Candy, party decorations, masks, costumes, makeup. Everything you need for Halloween fun now at Walgreens.
So I thought I'd start by picking one of my favorite costumes I ever put together. This specific costume was from when I was 12. So I'm going back almost 20 years at this point.
Ooh.
So this was the mid 90s. And at a certain age, I wanted to always dress up as something scary. And Sam, my sister, she also, I remember this specific year, it might have been either this year or the year before, was also dressed up as like a little vampire or something. I don't even know if you remember because there is a little bit of an age gap between us.
Oh, I remember.
And the year prior to this, which I forget the year, it might have been 97, 98, I dressed up as Michael Myers. So being a creative kid in person, I wanted to change it up and kind of dress up as something original, not as like a licensed or like an existing character. And for some reason, I thought that dressing up as like an evil killer scarecrow with a pumpkin head was like a good idea.
Louis, let me ask you a question. Are you sure you didn't go as Michael Myers?
Yes, that's not Michael. That's that's Michael Myers. That's like Grandma Myers.
Michael Myers was Michael Myers with that nice hair, right? And if no one knows what we're talking about, there's like it's a meme, right? Or a TikTok video or something like that. It's like an Instagram video.
It was a video on Instagram.
Oh, I know. Now I know what you're talking about. He says, "Oh, you look like Michaela Myers, right?"
Like the kid comes up to his mom, like the kid goes up to his mom and he's like trying to act all hard and you know, scary. And his mom just starts laughing at him and she's like, you don't look like Michael Myers, you look more like Michael Myers. Look at that hair. And the kid gets so upset. He's just like sulks down. He's like really upset about everything. It's hilarious.
So luckily my Michael Myers costume, I had the actual Michael Myers rubber mask the year before this Scarecrow costume. So like I was saying, I wanted to be, I wanted something original that I created. So around the time Goosebumps was obviously very popular, and that book and episode, I believe it's called Scarecrow Walks at Midnight, was released or really popular that year. And that same year, I think, was the first time I had seen the film Scarecrows from 1988.
Beware of a scarecrow. Kill it, or become it. Scarecrows, the stuff nightmares are made of.
I don't know if Dave, are you familiar with that movie?
Yeah, it's a good one. It's like that's like with like the they're like I don't want to say they're a SWAT team, but they're like dressed up like SWAT team members, right? And they go to like that farmhouse. Yeah, it's a good one.
I think they steal some money. Sammy, I don't think you've ever heard of this movie, but these guys steal some money.
Yeah.
And they end up at like a farm in a farmhouse, and all the scarecrows at that farm come to life and start killing them. Basically,
it's worth the watch. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, it's a very good movie.
Oh, now I have all the time in the world, so there's no reason I can't watch it now.
I think around this time I had just seen this movie. I'm about 12 years old, so like my love of horror films was like full force. I was always renting movies, and I think I saw Scarecrows on Channel 9 UPN. That goes to show you how long ago this was. Again, I just thought the idea of a killer scarecrow costume was awesome. So I remember telling our mom to take me, and I'm sure Sammy, I'm sure you were there too, Sam.
Yeah.
To Party City so I could buy a scary, rubber mask. And keep in mind, at this age, I was obsessed with masks because I thought they were like the most legit things you could wear during Halloween. I know Dave and I covered our love for a rubber mask two or three episodes ago. And I really, really wanted just to get a scary, like pumpkin jack-o'-lantern type mask. So, I go to Party City. So when we get there, I ended up finding this. It's basically just like a big pumpkin head with like a hood, kind of like the Scream mask. It has like one of those like hoods behind it where it's kind of attached to the mask.
I remember that.
And it had these green eyes that if you place 2 AA batteries into it, the eyes light up.
Sick.
It was awesome. The sad thing is I no longer have that mask. I don't know what happened to it. But it was a really cool mask, and the funny thing was I was a kid, so this mask fit me. It was huge on me. It didn't properly fit me. I could barely see through it, and still decided that I wanted to dress up as this scary scarecrow pumpkin guy. So I remember also buying a sickle because scarecrows, farms, a sickle, that kind of goes together, you know, Children of the Corn and all that stuff. Kind of just
makes
works.
sense.
Exactly. So the funny thing about this costume was I didn't really know what I was going to wear. Like, our mother was like, okay, I'll take you to Party City. You can get the mask. But there was no, like, killer scarecrow costume. So I kind of just had to create it myself. So what I ended up doing was I had this really ugly, I don't even think it was mine. I don't know whose it was. I don't know if my sister remembers or not, but it was a yellow flannel. It was so ugly. I would have never, like, even today, I love flannel shirts. I would have never worn it. Just the color was horrible. And I found this, like, old fabric vest that I think was from either an old costume of mine or my mother's. Because my mother used to like make Samantha, like, Sam and I, our costumes. And so we always had leftover pieces. And I remember grabbing this brown, like, little vest and painting on it to get it all dirty and all that stuff. And I think it might have been from a pirate costume, but again, it gets a little fuzzy where it came from. And here's the funny part now. For some reason, I decided to wear a pair of turquoise Columbia waterproof pants. I don't know why. I think I had a full, like, raincoat, like, jumpsuit type of outfit, and it was turquoise.
Oh, it was if it was the 90s, I mean.
It was tight. It was good. It looked cool, the whole suit, when you wore it together. But I don't know why I decided to wear these, like, rubber pants with this costume. And the colors were kind of all over the place, but it worked. Yellow, turquoise. You know, I'm a scarecrow. I'm supposed to be this creepy, scary scarecrow. And I also ended up tying up some ropes around my wrist. No gloves, though, which I found interesting. I don't know why I never thought, like, hey, I should wear, like, some, like, just black gloves. I didn't have any gloves on. And the other funny thing is, I don't know why, I think our mother was like, why don't you, like, tie corn or hay or something on you? And I just didn't want to. I thought that was kind of dumb. I was 12. Yeah.
Now I bet you would have done it.
Yeah, and honestly, like, this costume it always stood out to me. I don't know why. I always just loved the way it looked. And I always told myself, like, if I ever decide to make, like, a movie myself again, like a horror film, and I want it to, like a slasher type film, I could have this killer I created basically in a future movie. And it was a great costume. I loved it. And I have all these pictures. I remember that day specifically, we went to the Queens Botanical Gardens, and they have this, like, annual Halloween event. It's kind of watered down now, but they had this short little, like, haunted trail. It was during the day, obviously, so it couldn't be that scary. And I remember there being, like, a headless horseman guy there holding a jack-o'-lantern, and I just kind of got a kick. Like, I wanted to take a picture with him. I got a kick out of that. I was like, look, we both have pumpkins, you know what I mean? So, yeah. That's my killer pumpkin scarecrow costume, and it just worked well. And it's one of my favorite ones I've ever worn.
I remember that costume so vividly, and I think I remember that picture too. I don't know what it is that's standing out, but that event that they used to do in Queens, we went like 4 years in a row. From what I remember.
They would do it, yeah, it was during the day, I remember, and they would just have, like...
They stopped doing it.
I think they do it now, but it's like it's a little safer now. Like, I remember when we went, you were really young, you might have been like 4 or 5, and I remember they had, like, you stick your hand inside these boxes, and they'd have, like, grapes.
And it has, like, gooey things and stuff. Yeah. Oh, my God, yeah,
they had you, like, draw on little small pumpkins and all that stuff. But it was a great Halloween, and my costume was awesome.
There's a botanical garden over by us that and you've been to it, that's been doing a Halloween thing for, like, I mean, since I was a kid. And
which one is that?
It's Clark Gardens Botanical Clark Garden. It doesn't make sense. Clark Gardens Botanical Gardens.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah, but yeah, we went.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
But that's been going on since I was a kid. So. And it's still going on. Yeah. So, it's stuff like that I think will never actually die out,
Oh, yeah.
Which is great.
Yeah, that was a cool event. But what's funny about the Queens Botanical Gardens is it's not as intense. It wasn't intense in the 90s. Like in the 90s, it wasn't like a haunted house or anything like that. But they still had like a little haunted trail and stuff for kids. Now I feel like it's just kind of like they have kids paint pumpkins and get candy, wear their costumes, and then kick everybody out. So things change over time.
So doing this, trying to come up with a costume, just one costume that I really liked, is extremely hard for me. Besides Halloween, I usually have like another costume for a costume party within the same month, and then another costume for Comic-Con, which is the first weekend of every October. So that's 3 costumes in 1 month. It's really like a shitload that I couldn't even keep track of. I had to go through all my pictures to try and come up with one. So the one that I came up with, even though I have some really amazing memories as a child, the one that I kind of enjoyed the most and I associate with a good Halloween was my costume. I think it was like 2015, if I'm correct, for the Countess, 2016. The Countess from American Horror Story Hotel. So I am a humongous Lady Gaga fan, like obsessed with her. And I actually met her within that same year. So it was a really, really good year for me. And the reason that I chose to do the Countess was because I made the very bittersweet decision prior to that to bleach my entire head. Platinum blonde. I had a bad breakup and I was like, screw it, I'm gonna bleach my hair and I'm a new woman, which is total bullshit. That's not a real thing. So it was bittersweet because I did like being blonde, but it was terrible for my hair. Sorry, I'm not gonna make this about my hair. But right before Halloween, I already made the conscious decision that I had to go back to my natural hair color because my hair was falling out in chunks from all the damage I did to it. And I had one thing planned, like that Halloween, I said to myself, I want to dress up as Elvira. That's like a character I've always wanted to do. And this is my time to do it. And then I was like, wait a minute, if I'm going to dye my hair back to brown, let me just get like one last hurrah with my bleached blonde hair. And that's kind of how I decided to dress up as the Countess. It was also on TV Hotel at the time. So I was just like living my extreme Lady Gaga fantasy, so to speak. So I just kind of went to one of those, I don't know what to call them, but those are little kind of hood dress stores, like a rainbow shop. Remember Rainbow? I don't know if it exists. So I went to a rainbow shop. I found like a really sexy black dress. I cut out some shoulder pads from an old jacket that I didn't want anymore, and I stuffed them in the shoulders. I took an old scarf and I sewed it into one sleeve. I rummaged together all of my jewelry and put it on. And I went to town to make the glove because I feel like the glove in the, American Horror Story Hotel is so iconic. I mean, that's literally the tool she uses to kill everybody. So I wanted to put most of the focus on that. And again, I got a simple like white glove that I found, a silk one, and I went crazy. I got those really tacky plastic witch fingernails that you can find like in the pharmacy. You know what I'm talking about? They kind of look like rings. Yeah. And you stick them on your actual fingers. So I grabbed those and I covered them in tinfoil and then I bedazzled them with a bedazzler. And I like sewed and hot glued them onto the glove. And I spent probably like I still have it. I spent probably 3 hours just stoning this glove. So I know what the drag queens go through. Shit is hard. And that was only one glove, guys. So I went to town with that. I kind of just referenced some pictures from some stills from the actual season, and I don't know, I'm sure both of you have watched it or at least are familiar with it.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I think I watched like half of the season.
Yeah,
Is she a vampire?
She's a
right?
vampire.
She's a
That's the vampire
right?
season.
Yeah.
Some of the costumes on that show, just the other day I was bored and just kind of like watching some old BTS for it. Some of the costumes on that show are absolutely gorgeous. So I just wanted to like get inspiration from it. Styled my last hurrah with my blonde hair, did my makeup, and like it really visually is probably not the best thing I have ever done for Halloween, or in general for costumes. I definitely have done visually more like intricate ones, more time consuming ones, but I just associate that with such a good time. I mean, that Halloween when we weren't sure what we were gonna do, right? Like 20 of us ended up like pulling through and showing up to a bar, and you know, all the pictures that I have from that. I mean, that was just like an incredible Halloween for me, and I absolutely love that costume, and I got so many compliments on it, and you know, it feels good to have your hard work recognized. So I definitely think that was a hit for me.
Yeah, the cool thing about that is I don't know if it was the year before or the year after. I went to Halloween Horror Nights, and they had a hotel like haunted house. And I remember seeing like they had a girl dressed up as like that character, and it looked really good too. It looked almost like your costume, I remember specifically. So you did put a lot of detail.
I was so jealous when you went to Halloween Horror Nights that year, because I had never even been told recently. And when you told me about that, I was hating. But yeah, I really I liked it a lot. It was a lot of fun. She has like 6 costume changes per episode, so it's really hard to just kind of pick one that's going to be iconic. So I just kind of did what I could with it. I mean, it came out really good. It was a good year.
Was it inspired by one of the specific looks? I remember when we hung out that night, a bunch of us, but I don't remember if it was a specific look. Was it like her generic look, or was it like, you know what I mean? Like her basic on the posters and stuff?
I think that's what I was going to say. I think that like the hair and like the makeup and stuff that I did was coming from the promo. So if you know American Horror Story, usually they put out like this really, really short like snippet as a promo for the show. It's just like a teaser. And it was basically Lady Gaga standing on top of, or her character, the Countess, standing on top of like a fountain of blood or something like that. And she was like sexy dancing, and Du Hast was playing in the background. And I was like, that specific little snippet, which you can even find on YouTube now, like it's still up there. You do like the teasers. That was where I got the hair and makeup, and everything else was just kind of like me being creative and coming up with something that's a little bit of everything.
It's the way to do it.
Yeah, do my best.
I was going to add something. Do you remember the Family Values tour?
Yeah, with like Limp Bizkit, Korn, and Ice Cube, and Rammstein.
It was like Korn, Limp Bizkit, Rammstein. I heard, like, cause like when you said that, it just reminded me of that, because you said Rammstein and Du Hast, and I'm like, when we saw Rammstein, they had the singer, like I'm not really a fan, but the singer just pulled out like a giant dildo that was attached to a hose, and it was just spraying everybody in the crowd with water. I just remember being immature kids and like thinking it was the funniest thing.
That is amazing.
So I just wanted to throw my Rammstein memory in there.
That's like Rammstein's thing. Rammstein's
so
always
good.
like everything is like giant dicks and dildos and liquids shooting everywhere. If you watch any of their like stuff on YouTube, that's basically what they do. They've been doing that for like 20 years now at this point.
Family Values, rest in peace.
One thing's for sure, no one's getting any sleep the night of the Slumber Party Massacre. Close your eyes for a second and sleep forever.
So my favorite costume memory is I had gone as a character from a slasher film called Slumber Party Massacre, and I went as the iconic Russ Thorn. If you don't know who Russ Thorn is, I would recommend looking him up, and I would recommend watching the movie because it's great. So I want to say it was 2010, and I had decided I think I was watching the movie like quite a bit, like at least like once or twice like a month, because I just really liked that movie. And I was looking at his costume, and I like his character to begin with. Like, it's just such a, in the movie, he's just such a different, it's a bizarre slasher. Would you agree with me on that?
Oh, he's weird because he always has like this like weird expression on his face, and he always looks sweaty. And he's normal for like 80s standards, kind of. But I guess when you go into breaking down what he looks like, you can kind of see how like odd he looks. It's weird. Right. I get what you're saying though, Dave.
Yeah, and spoiler alert, he just shows up at him there's no rhyme or reason to his character, which I would say probably put a lot of people off. It didn't put me off. I just thought it was more interesting. So
oh yeah,
I looked at I'm looking at his whole getup, and I'm like, I want to dress up like this guy for Halloween. So I had planned this all during the Halloween of 2010. So it was a fairly easy thing to put together. It's pretty minimal. It's just a denim jacket, a red t-shirt, like blue jeans, and like boots. That's pretty easy to put together. And so he wields around a giant drill. And where are you going to get a giant drill? Luckily, I work for a municipality that has a giant tool shed. So I was able to borrow pretty much the same exact drill that he uses in the movie. So I was pretty damn excited when I was like, I just put together this costume and it looked just like him. So, so now I have this whole thing put together, and a good friend coworker of mine, his father-in-law used to have this giant haunt display. Like, I don't want to call it a haunted house, but it was this giant display. He had things rigged up, like guillotines going and fog, and every Halloween they shut his block down. And we get to basically, people go to his house just to be there on Halloween. It really is awesome. I definitely have pictures. I have to find them. So we were kind of actors in a haunt, if you will. So, I get there, and I have my drill, and, people are coming, and, I'm walking around with the drill, just kind of like looking at people weird. Cause like Russ Thorn's character is not like, like saying weird, he does say something weird, but like not yelling and screaming at people. So I remember I'm walking around and I overhear these people are like, what the fuck is he supposed to be? He's carrying a drill.
Exactly.
And I just started.
I was going to ask you that because I feel like not a lot of people not everybody would know. I'm sure.
Not one person.
It's a deep cut costume.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not one person knew who I was. So it was a good Halloween. The haunt that my friend's father-in-law used to put on was really, really fucking cool. I don't think he does it anymore. And it's just unfortunate that people that really do know the movie, like I wasn't around people that, knew this deep cut. So it, in that sense, it was kind of a bummer. But I remember texting our friend Emily, and I was like, yo, I'm dressed up as Russ Thorn right now, and not one person that is here knows who the hell I am. And she was just like, dude. I was like, yeah. And I was like, yo, I nailed this costume. So
they're like, who's this psycho holding a drill? That's what they were saying.
So it's funny too, because I still think about that costume, and I always tell people, like, it will come up in conversation, like, yo, I killed the Russ Thorn costume, and I have pictures of it. I always show people. So that was definitely my favorite costume I've put together. And Sam, I could relate to like making it and using what you can from like a store, but also using what you have at your house, because I think that's
it makes such a difference.
Yeah, it's part of the charm too of putting together a costume.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because like all the like all these cosplayers, and I'm not like, this is no shade at cosplayers, but I mean, you could literally just go buy an exact costume of something and just play it off like you did it. But, like, there's no fun in that. You need to put it together yourself. So, super proud of that costume. And if anyone hasn't seen Slumber Party Massacre 2, that's always been on my agenda to dress up as. So, but that one's definitely a way more involved, and I know Louis could definitely could definitely agree with me on that costume is much harder to do. But I have faith that I can do it.
Honestly, the killer in part 2, the actual clothes aren't that bad. You could probably find those or something close to it. It's the guitar. It's his drill guitar that's hard to find. I'm sure there's like a replica out there, but it's probably very expensive. But going back to the original Slumber Party Massacre, Russ Thorn, so the thing with him is he doesn't have like, he's not wearing a mask. He's not like, people think Jason, Michael Myers, even some other like My Bloody Valentine or The Prowler even. They kind of have like this signature mask costume. And Russ Thorn just looks like a dude wearing like a Canadian tuxedo.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's basically what he's wearing.
It's so ordinary. Yeah. He's such an ordinary guy.
He's just a guy.
And that was always interesting to me. So, I was like...
He is like, when you watch the movie, he is unique looking and very, very, like, just strange. Like, he's bug-eyed. I think he's got like grayish hair, right? If I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And he's got like...
Yeah, I wasn't gray in my hair.
You didn't want to... Oh, that was the only thing you didn't want to pull the trigger on, was spraying your hair gray?
That's where you draw the line. Cover me in blood, but I don't need the spray paint in the hair.
I did have blood because there's like... I did put blood like exactly where he had it in the movie.
I really like... If you're serious, like I would totally make that guitar for you.
It's an ambitious thing to take on.
I will totally make it. I like a challenge.
Well, I might have to put you up to that challenge because I would.
Yeah, man. It could be done.
Like how you were saying, like Lady Gaga. That's your woman right there. The dude from Slumber Party Massacre 2 is like. I would love to just walk around and how he does
with the fringe jacket. Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, I don't blame you.
It's funny because Slumber Party Massacre 3, no one talks about that killer in that movie. No one even remembers. But part 1 and part 2 are so memorable.
Oh, they're great. And it's funny. This popped up in a conversation recently that it might have been between you, me, Chris, and Tom, Louis. We were talking about, so there's a girl band in Slumber Party Massacre 2. And they're like this shoegaze rock like thing. And it's so relevant to the sound, like a lot of the indie music that's coming out today, and the look, like the way the people dress in that movie is like even more like it's almost like time just kind of repeated itself because that movie came out the late 80s. It's like almost teetering on early 90s. I want to say.
I think part 2 was 86 and part 1 was like 84, 85. So yeah, it was like literally the mid 80s.
I thought part 2 was later. Either way. I just kind of thought it was funny.
Honestly, I think the first Slumber Party Massacre might be like 82, 83. It's like right after the first Friday the 13th came out, like the second one. So it was like right in that first wave of slasher films because I think it was supposed to originally be like a parody of those movies that were so popular at the time.
Yeah, they were trying because it was directed by it was a female director, and they were trying to kind of I'm not sure if satire is the right word, but like it was almost like a play on like the typical slasher, like how women are like defenseless, and and like a typical slasher film where women are kind of defenseless and always get killed off, and like there's like a lot of like interesting symbolic things in the film. It's a great movie. So yeah, Slumber Party Massacre. That was the film that gave me inspiration to dress up as Russ Thorn. So I'm definitely doing that again, by the way. So look out.
Look out, because this Halloween, Toys R Us is your Halloween headquarters. You'll find every trick or treat under the moon. A monstrous selection of costumes and a dungeon full of decorations at prices so low, you'll howl. So this Halloween, bring the entire family to Toys R Us for a Halloween selection so huge, it's scary.
Now, can I say something so bold? Because as I mentioned before, trying to choose one was very hard. do you guys have a runner-up?
I would probably have to say my runner-up would be trying to dress up as Freddy Krueger for the first time.
I like that you said trying.
Because I specifically remember they used to sell this like kit that you could buy at like most, costume shops, Party City and stuff like that too. And what it was basically just Freddy Krueger's brow. I don't know if Dave remembers this, but
just the brow?
Just his brow.
Like it protrudes, like the forehead.
It was like a prosthetic, that you would like glue to your face. And I remember, I think I was maybe 14 at the time or 13, and I really wanted to, I wanted to be Freddy for Halloween. And the actual piece, I had Mom glue it on my face and paint my face and do all that and try to blend it, which it didn't really work out because the kit itself sucked. But the piece itself was not made for someone my age. It was obviously way too big and a giant nose, and it looked kind of cartoony. And I think even it's like now you walk into any store and you can find Freddy's sweater. And I remember then you couldn't. It was a little harder to find, and they sold this really shitty, crappy like fabric version. It wasn't even really a sweater. It was that like nylon
like thin,
material
like
that they used to make, like
shiny.
Polyester. That just was orange and green. Not orange, red and green. I mean, and I think I had the like glove, the cheap glove, but
that's it. Listen, that cheap is okay. Cheap is okay. Doesn't need to be movie theater quality every single time.
Yeah, that would be my runner up. My attempt at being Freddy. What about you, Dave?
Oh, mine is Horace Pinker from Shocker.
Oh yeah, I got to see that.
I've used that costume twice, and I had bought like a prison jumpsuit, like like one of those generic things you could buy at any costume store, and I bought a stencil, and I bought like fabric paint, and I stenciled the whole because he has like a checkered, like a black and white checkered pattern on the front of his prison jumpsuit, so this was during the hurricane of 2012. So we have no power in the house, and I'm in my room. I have the jumpsuit laid over my bed, and I'm painting this with no electricity, no lights, and that Halloween that was my costume, and I was super proud of it. I still have it. I still have the jumpsuit because I wore it to your Halloween party last year.
Yeah, you did a good job with that. It looked just like the one in the movie.
Yeah, stenciled his number on and everything.
Sammy, what about you? What's your runner-up?
Okay, let me think. So also a more recent one. It was a Halloween where I had two costumes again. I think the Halloween day I dressed up as Joyce Myers from Stranger Things, which was a really good one. But Louis, you had a party that Halloween. Do you remember what I dressed up as?
I don't really remember.
I was there, but I don't remember seeing Sam there, but I was there.
So I dressed up as Carrie, but I wasn't just like prom dress covered in blood. Few years ago, I watched an episode of RuPaul's Drag Race, and one of the drag queens wore this ridiculously intricate, over-the-top kind of headpiece that was a floating bucket with blood coming out of it. And it was like bright and colorful and bedazzled. And he just walked down the runway with this giant bucket in midair. It was probably like 2 feet above his head, I kid you not. And I was like, oh, that'd be really cool to make. But like, let's be real. There's no chance in hell that like, I'm gonna be able to do that. Completely forgot about it. But for this party, I decided to see what I can do, get a little creative. And it came out so good. I just bought the dress from, like, it was like on sale. It was like a size extra large, but it was just a white dress covered in blood. And I kind of just cinched it. Because the headpiece took me so long. So I was like, I'll just buy the dress. But yeah, it came out really good. I ended up going to Michael's to see what can inspire me to put it together. And in the sale section of Michael's for like $2, I don't know if you've ever seen it, but it's essentially like a standing like ornament hanger. So it's a circle base with like a little hook coming up, and you just stick an ornament on it. I don't know why anybody would want one single ornament just chilling as a centerpiece in their kitchen. It seems kind of odd. But I took that and I kind of used that as a base for putting this bucket on it, wrapped it in fabric, put some glitter and stuff on it. It looked really, really good. That has to be a good second though.
Yeah, I remember that one. That looked really cool. That was like really unique. You look like you look like you were ready to go to like a big fancy like Halloween party that year.
I wish I would have saw it.
Oh my gosh, Dave! I'll show you pictures. It was really good, and everybody's like, "Are you gonna take it off? You're gonna take it off eventually because it's heavy." Because it was an actual bucket for like planting on top of my head, like a garden bucket. I kept it on for like 4 hours. I couldn't believe it.
Got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, oh yeah, for the craft, man, for the craft.
What strange creatures are lurking in the night? Oh, skull face, mummy face too. Oh, ghoul face. What a frightful sight. Yes, Mom, this Halloween your kids can have fun creating their own scary disguise with Kooky Spooks makeup. They just smear it on. When the makeup dries, it cracks to make them look really old and ghoulish. Add in the sheet and the costume's complete. Kooky Spooks makeup kits. 6 frightening disguises to choose from.
All right, guys, so that's some of our costume memories. Be sure to subscribe and follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Haunted Hangover.
And if you could kindly rate and review us, that would be greatly appreciated.
And remember, the best cure for a hangover is...
more booze!
Later, guys.